Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sew to Grow. Today we have an extremely exciting episode planned for you because we're going to be learning how to insert an invisible zipper. Trust me, it's not as scary as it sounds. I'm going to show you the tools you need, I'm going to show you a few simple techniques, and we're going to insert the invisible zipper right into the side seam of our garment. So let's gather up our supplies and go ahead and get started. Here's what you'll need to complete today's project. The first thing you'll need is an invisible zipper. Now you can either purchase this to the correct size or like I've done here, I've cut it to size and zigzagged over the end. You'll also want to get an invisible zipper foot. These come in either clear or metal and you'll need to get the correct one for your machine. You'll also need a regular zipper foot that usually comes standard with your machine, a good strong polyester thread, a new size 80 needle, a seam gauge, some pins, and a marking utensil. The next thing is that I've slid my seam gauge down to 5/8 of an inch, and I am just going to line that up with the edge and make a mark. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. That is now my stop sewing line. Also, what you need to do is go ahead and cut off these little extra bits where there is no coil at the end. Don't cut the stoppers off or this is just gonna zip right off. Here you can see I've laid out my garment. Up here is the sleeve, down here is the hem, and this is the side seam. Take that metal pull and you want to put it face down, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm lining up the edges on the top of my garment and I'm laying that flat. Okay, now I'm going to take my pins and I'm going to pin facing up, all right, so that when I'm sewing along I can easily just drag these pins out. Now we can unzip our zipper, make sure that that's out of the way. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the invisible zipper foot. This little point at the top, I like to call that the snow plow. The reason I call it that is because it pushes all of the coils out of the way so that you can stitch extremely close to the inside of the zipper. I'm going to turn this over so that you can see the underneath, but there's actually two separate channels that either the right or the left of the zipper actually fit in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place the inside of the snow plow. I'm going to open this up with my finger, and then I'm going to place the foot down so that I'm actually snow plowing in the ditch. That's what I like to call it. So forward. And again, I'm just holding this back with my finger so that I know it's feeding in there well. And once it's actually in there, you don't have to do much of anything. And remember, we're going to stop at our blue line, push the reverse, and do a little back stitch. As you can see, I have stitched on this side. I zipped my invisible zipper up. Now what I've done is I've put the metal pull facing down and I've put it right sides together with the other side seam that I have. Alright, remember I like to pin everything while it zips so that I make sure that I don't get myself confused. And once you have it pinned, now you can go ahead and unzip it. Once you've unzipped your zipper, go ahead and place it underneath your machine and open it up like we did before on the other side. Put your foot down so that that nose is in the ditch like we've done before, and we're going to sew forward 3 stitches, sew back 3 stitches, and then sew down the entire way, stopping at our blue line. The needle stays directly in the center, stitching really close to the inside of those coils, and I haven't had to move anything. And go ahead and zip it up so that you can check yourself. To finish this off, I'm going to go ahead and put my garment right sides together with my zipper closed. So I'm just going to put that like that. And then I'll take a few pins and pin all the way down the bottom. Once you have that pinned, you're going to take a ruler, and from where you stopped sewing, you are going to mark a line at 1/2 inch the rest of the way down your garment. So now I've grabbed my regular zipper foot, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that onto the right side. Now I need to get my needle all the way over to the right so that it's flush with this. On mine, I use the zigzag, and I just touch it until it's all the way over to the right. Once you have that adjusted, you're going to go ahead with the right sides together and place your garment underneath your machine. As you can see here, this is where I stopped sewing. Remember how we marked a blue line and we had to stop sewing? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is pulled out of the way, the zipper, and I'm going to hand walk my needle by turning my hand wheel off to the right and place it right where I stopped stitching. Okay, the reason we're using the zipper foot is that's because I can get so close to the edge of those stitches. I'm going to go ahead, put my foot down, and you can see I'm exactly lined up. Now I'm going to go forward a couple stitches, making sure I keep that out of the way. Go ahead and reverse a few stitches just to lock it in. And then sew on that pink line that you drew all the way down to the bottom. Alright, so now that I've inserted my zipper, I'm going to go ahead and thread a needle and thread, and I'm just going to take and hand sew this down just here at the bottom so that it doesn't flip up. And then you're going to repeat the same thing for the other side. So you can see here, to finish this off, I just used a hook and eye and a needle and thread, and I just hand sewed through the loops to connect those together, and all you need to do to take it off is unhook it like that. So it just joins the two together really nicely and neatly. Alright, so that just about wraps us up for today's episode of Sew to Grow. Once we put on that hook and eye, we finished off our garment, and now we're ready to start our stuff. See, it wasn't as difficult as you thought it was going to be, was it? Isn't it amazing how one simple tool can make all the difference in the world? I hope in today's episode you learn a few new tricks and you kind of overcome that fear of trying something new. This is actually one of my new tops called the Sweet Summertime Peplum, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes for you, so in case you want to make one yourself. If you really enjoyed today's episode, I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on Instagram at Sew to Grow, or on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Sew to Grow. We'll see you here next time, and until then, happy sewing.